You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John.
So, Mike, death. How's that reach you? What do you think about death?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
Not. I don't get bogged down by it, but I do think about it. I'm closing in on the big 4-0, so I got to start.
Same here.
Yeah, I got to start thinking better about health and food.
Yep.
Good old Weight Watchers. But yeah, I do think about death and the legacy I will leave behind, or not, as it turns out. The way my life's going right now, not much. No.
Well.
How about you? Do you think of death?
Yeah, and it's to me it's very terrifying, and I try not to think about it too often.
Mm-hmm.
And I do get bogged down in it.
Okay.
When I do think about it, it's yeah. But this game definitely helped. This is Spiritfarer, by the way. We're talking about Spiritfarer here. A game where you are basically shepherding people to the afterlife. You know, it's nothing that it's not a thing that I believe in. I don't believe in the afterlife, but I don't know why. This game just hit me, I guess, at the right time, and it's such a lovely thought.
Mm-hmm.
And a way to kind of work through what it would mean, how to rectify the regrets you might have, or you could have if you could have them after you're dead. Yeah, I don't know. Don't mean to get so heavy, but
I love it.
This game was super important to me, and it came out of nowhere for me. It wasn't a game style that I would normally play. Similar to the Journey discussion, that's a game that I wouldn't play, but it really hit me hard. And then the soundtrack just is a big part of that.
Did it hit you hard because of things in your life, or was it just something that you just really resonated with just by happenstance? Is it? I mean, you don't have, if it's personal, then absolutely don't worry.
In my personal life, my father passed away, relatively young. He was 63. And it's tough to deal with, especially when you're older. I don't know. It's like, I've had, grandparents pass away when I was like 6 years old or whatever. And it doesn't seem like it was real or mattered that much. But when you're older and you're also dealing with those thoughts about death, and it happens so close to you. Yeah. It definitely affects you to a certain extent.
I totally understand that. I think it's beautiful when things kind of come out of the woodwork, even during the worst times in our lives, that kind of give us at least some sort of, I want to say, calmness, give us some sort of peace with whatever might be happening. And a game like this during such a tumultuous time for you, I can imagine being very impactful. So, it's a really contemplative and serene album. And like what you were saying, it's not so much whether you believe in the afterlife, but what this soundtrack does for me is it allows me to imagine the importance of what you're doing and ferrying those people to their eternal resting site and doing this honorable deed. It strikes me as it's a very important thing, and very the soundtrack just succeeds on that level in capturing the beauty of such a sad thing.
It's I mean, so the game in general, you're Stella, and you are given this responsibility by Cheiron. You meet him, and he makes you the farrier, basically, of people's souls, and you get a boat, and you basically bring these souls on board, make them as comfortable as possible. You do things, you make your ship better for them. You get them food, the food that they want. You bring them to places where they can kind of say their goodbyes, or they can kind of resolve their unresolved deeds, and then you bring them to the gate to Hades. And it's an excellent game on that delves into empathy,
Mm-hmm.
how to understand people, what they actually want, and what is driving them. It makes you feel like you're responsible for these people that are on your boat, and in a way that is like a family. And then they're gone, and it's sad, but it's also happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it kind of helps you deal with that whole part. The album itself is composed by Max LL, and solely by him. Some of the tracks have a vocalist,
Yeah.
Maud Plant Husark, namely the final track, the kind of credits track that will make you cry for sure.
Right.
But yeah, overall, the soundtrack itself, it leads you. It starts with adventurous but melancholic feeling, some happiness, and then kind of you kind of ride the wave throughout the entire soundtrack.
Yeah, the Spiritfarer, I would just call it the theme song. It's very evident that this game is going to be explorative and emotional from jump. It opens with that delicate piano and string melody, and then slowly evolves into this fantastical and playful staccato string section with violins that eventually build into these sustained and elegant notes, which brings it back to that serious note. So there's going to be, like you said, there's this wave of emotion going on already. But what it does is it tells you that, okay, you might have a little bit of adventure in this, but it's the point, the through line of this game is going to be much more serious and emotional for the player. And first song does it. Gets you.
Yeah, it's a lot of the album, a lot of the tracks start out with that kind of subtlety that Spiritfarer starts out with, and then over time this song builds into something that's almost epic, like an epic of a very adventurous epic. With this gradual buildup, you get a lot of the melancholic overtones that then mix into this faster paced, lighthearted flute solos. And essentially this track is, like you said, essentially it's a medley of the themes that will kind of wash over you as you play through. Yeah. But it ends with just that solemn, singular instrument. It's just you with yourself, and that's it. It does such an excellent job of displaying what this game is going to be about in one single track. It's like this song itself is a masterpiece. And the rest of the album is kind of follows along with it. Yeah, the emotion is on its sleeves, and it's buckle up, because this album is a ride of emotion. And I would even say that Charon's Burden is another beautiful track that starts off with those dark and melancholic strings that evolve into plucking strings and bells, and it's exemplifying the intensity of the story
to ferry spirits to the afterlife and to find peace. It's not a fun job.
Yeah.
It's definitely not glorious, but it's one of the necessities in this world that's being built. It's deserving of the utmost respect. And the harp in this track gives it a beauty that feels almost misleading in nature to what the game is about. But if there's ever any doubt, the power behind those desperate strings is ever present in the song.
Yeah.
So that's another beautiful track. I just wanted to mention that one.
Yeah, I would agree. This is the first song that plays when you're getting kind of given the power to be this farrier of souls. Charon is the one before you who did this, and he's giving you the power to do it. And it's a heavy burden that comes with such a serious cost, but to a certain extent, like, you feel ready to explore the adventure, and then you move on to get your ship and start building it up, and it becomes a more hopeful game after that.
Right.
Before turning into, having its ups and downs as well. But in this moment, you're kind of being passed the torch, and it has that weight to it. Yeah.
It's just one of those songs that it grabs you, and it's continuing on with that Spiritfarer theme song aesthetic of just, I don't know how else to say it other than the album itself it's telling you this game, this experience is something that you're going to feel in your soul. Not to be too on point, but yeah. And this album, for the most part, I'm not going to say it's such a depressing album, but
no,
they do have moments of levity or brief moments of adventure. Shipyards comes to mind. It's despite the game's themes, LL manages to find a place for even a little bit of whimsy and construction going on. I think the Shipyards is a great example of some playfulness that complements the art aesthetic of the game. It's a heady game, but the cartoonish and beautiful art direction makes the subject matter a little bit more palatable, probably to the casual gamer. And even Shipyards, it takes that turn into a little bit like a softer Disney movie here. It takes itself seriously, but leaves breathing room for that little bit of adventure that comes with the game. Yeah,
for sure. The overarching word, I think, for this album is melancholic, and it's not sorrowful. There's I think there's a distinction in that, where melancholic is kind of a happy sadness. It's a relieved sadness. It's not something that you're holding on to. It's something that you're allowing to let go or move on beyond. And you also have, like you said, these points of levity, like Shipyards, where It does have that kind of Disney quality to it. The snare drum, the kind of marching snare drum, and the light fluting gives you that sense that despite your job, this world, the spirit world, still has its own character, still has its levity, still has its ups and downs, its characters or whatever. And it kind of goes into, another song which is you hear a lot is Song of Growth, which is you play this song when you're growing on your farm on your ship. It's kind of like it harkens back to Ocarina of Time, kind of to me.
Yeah.
Where you play the song on the ocarina and then it kind of builds into this full track where it's has more instruments than just the ocarina. It's just a simple song on the face of it, but as all the instruments kind of fill in, it becomes this lovely melody that kind of builds and builds. And it's just such a great aspect of this game where you start out with this subtlety and it becomes more and more complex as you learn more about it.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of those through lines, I think, on the album itself is just it has the knack for starting somewhere, taking you somewhere else, and then coming back around to fill it out and to be, not that every song's a roller coaster, but they all have different aspects that will bring you to either moments of levity from despair or bring you down to the seriousness of what's going on before you get too off the mark. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the song might start a little whimsical or something, but then it's going to keep you on point.
It'll have some level of heaviness and love and reality to it.
Absolutely. And the next track I wanted to mention, actually it's two tracks. Last Voyage and Stella's Departure. I want to couple these two together because the two, well, first of all, Last Voyage opens as serious as the name suggests. There's a real sadness and finality here as the piano hums this melody. The violins mimic, and on top of them are gentle bells to really accent it all. To me, this song is the end. The end is in sight. We've had the adventure, but the story has come full circle. We're helping the spirits find peace, and the farewells are here. I feel like I bring up The Lord of the Rings somewhat frequently, but I imagine Frodo on the shore saying goodbye to his comrades as he boards the ships to the west. And then Stella's Departure fills it all out with more piano. It's just a very heavy pair of songs, but the message is welcome and utterly beautiful. forget the sadness and the pain you may have gone through to get to this point. You've done an important and honorable job helping these people get to where they're going. And it's a very emotional couple of songs. And even after they're over, that experience just sits with me.
Yeah.
It's just powerful. I really love those two songs put together. It's like one cohesive experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, that whole sequence in the game is extremely powerful. And one of the main things about this whole game is that it's filled with these kind of cutesy spirits that have these animal avatars, and you're this kind of cutesy little Spiritfarer with this big hat and this cat that follows you around. But there's a story behind the story that your character is actually in real life is a palliative nurse who helps sick people kind of pass on to the other side.
Okay.
And you've grown old and become sick yourself, and this is your deathbed is this whole game basically.
Wow.
And the end of the game is you dying and moving on. So it's like, yeah,
full circle.
Wow. So like this whole Stella's departure, when you learn about the because you don't really know about that part until you get further on in the game, and you kind of get inklings of what's going on in the real world, and like, you get these like shots of people visiting you or whatever, or these happy things of like you and your friend, or like, because your original passenger on the ship is, I don't remember. I think she's like your friend, and she passes on, and then it's a very heavy ending. These two tracks build into something that if you don't cry at the end of that game, then you're not a human being. Is what it comes to.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting emotional just listening to it, and I'm afraid to play the game. Not because I can't handle it, but it's one of those things, man. But like I probably will play it because it's such a powerful soundtrack, and these two songs, oh man, knowing what you just told me, basically the ending of the game is like, fuck. Yeah. This is even weightier than I thought.
It's such an interesting game that it starts with a heavy premise, right? Fairly heavy premise, but it's in a cutesy way. It then doesn't pull any punches on what it actually means. Like it's not trying to be, it's allegorical, but it also is kind of literal in a way. And it doesn't pull those punches, which is commendable that it's willing to go so far.
To hear that is very, I'm glad they're sticking the landing rather than pulling back and making it a little less dramatic. I think we do in video games sometimes need that seriousness that you can't get with a God of War or, Fallout or something. You're not going to get those emotions necessarily. You might, but maybe not on this level. And it's little indie games like this that can really take that time to tell you a story that is off the beaten path for AAA titles. And Spiritfarer is sounding more and more like a game that I really want to play. And it sounds like one of those experiences that hits even if you're not going through anything. And in order for you to have experienced what you were experiencing when you played it, I think that makes it even more powerful. And would you say this experience helped you in that moment, or is it like releasing in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. There are certain things that I watch, or like movies or shows that I have watched because they help release that kind of feeling, and you kind of get over it after you kind of get it out of your system. It's not everybody, here's a big tip. It's not good to hold on to things and hold on to bad feelings. It's good to release them in healthy ways. And, it's tough to play through an entire game to get that feeling, but having played it, I can literally, if I listen to what the ending credit song, the "What Will You Leave Behind" end title song, it just kills me. And it's kind of a good thing. And it gets that you get that release. It's kind of similar vibes that I had to Journey, although I think Spiritfarer is a bit more meaningful. Journey was more selfish, and Spiritfarer is more empathetic, I think. And I not to say this entire game is just kind of ramming sadness down your throat, because the game is, in general, as a game, it's very fun. It's a wicked fun platformer. You get your ship that you have to get better, and you do platformer missions. You go to islands and all that. And one of the most fun songs in this, I think, and it's very short, is Big Fish. Big Fish is a great song because this is basically every time you fish and you get you get a fish on the hook. Yeah. This starts to play, and it's just this tug of war and back and forth. You get that banjo and the snare drums going. It is such a fun track to listen to. It makes fishing fun in this game,
and it's one of those tracks that offers that levity that you almost need as like a break from the emotional roller coaster this album's giving you, right?
Yeah.
The game material is so not dark, but strong and emotional that you need these moments, and it helps make the whole experience come together, because it is a world, it is a place where many different things can happen still, and for it to all just be one note and very sad and somber, it wouldn't strike the same way. So a song like Big Fish, where it's very fast, very rambunctious and intense, even though it's a short song, it's like a minute long.
Yeah, it's like a minute.
But it's a nice break. And you need that to kind of come down and maybe get a laugh or two. Right. And then you can move on and you're ready for the next phase of this experience. And it's important. And LL does a great job there with songs like that. And again, I think Shipyards does that for me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a platformer, and there are the characters in this game, and it's not like, there are definitely funny bits and action bits, and it's you do quests for people, or you do little missions for people. Mm-hmm. It's not all sorrow and melancholy, but like in the songs and the game itself give you the more light ones give you that break to not really think about it too much, but also build out the world and also build out the characters. Like, you get to know your passengers in a way that you don't get to know a lot of NPCs in many other games. Mm-hmm. You get to know what drives them, what makes them happy or sad, what they're doing here, why they haven't passed on yet, what they need. You want to make them happy to a certain extent. Like, that's the whole point, is to make them happy and then let them move on. And you don't really get that from any other game. Many other games. Yeah.
It's like, and this is going to sound really lame, but the people who talk a lot about spirits in our world, I'm not going there, but you hear them talk about, I've heard countless times, they're like, well, they haven't moved on yet. You have to, they're angry about something. They died in a sudden way, and their spirit's not ready to move on.
Right.
So when you were describing that a second ago, it's like, okay, you have to make these people happy, and then they can release themselves, and you're helping them move on. And it's just struck me as kind of what you hear, and they turned it into an interesting video game to, they took that thing that I always hear from
the trope,
from Ghost Adventures or whatever, and,
right,
and they made it a thing, and they made it much more impactful for the people who play it.
It's not just that this person's family was murdered, they're murdered in cold blood or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, they have regrets about their life, and they have things that they wish they had done or are still wishing they will do. Or they just want to be comfortable. Like, it's a plethora of, they're all unique people. They're no one passenger you have has the same wants, needs, or desires, basically. So it helps you empathize with all the characters that you have, and kind of empathize outside of the game. I think there needs to be more games that help you understand people that maybe aren't like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is one of those games, I think.
Now, at the beginning, you had said you're helping them pass on to Hades. Was that we can cut this if you want, but was that a misspeak? Are they bad people, or is it the afterlife in general?
Afterlife in general.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
It is Hades. I think it was in the game it's called Hades.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just afterlife, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, this sounds like a wonderful experience. I'm probably going to have to play it.
You'll definitely have to play it.
Because I can always use a calm and emotional game.
Mm-hmm.
I've played a couple. I think, we talked about Journey a couple weeks ago, and I got a lot of tragedy with that soundtrack. But ironically, that game is much more about discovery than outright pain.
Yeah.
And with this one, it feels all about loss and the necessity of helping those spirits cross over, which is, a very dark topic. But all I got from it was a sense of life and duty for these characters because of the soundtrack. And it's a weird line to toe as a composer, I'm sure, to make players feel not only specific things, but maybe also pull competing emotions from them. The game's story here tells me that I should be sad, but the music has a knack for bringing the realizations out of me and the noble act of taking such a painful job. And I'm going to go into my final thoughts there. I pretty much did. The soundtrack is just all in all beautiful and engaging. I would highly recommend this to people who practice mindfulness. Mm-hmm. Throw it on in the background, and you might experience a calmness you were not expecting.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just one of those soundtracks that you can just let your mind expand while you're laying on a pillow or something, and just breathe in and breathe out. let the stresses of everyday life just sink away.
It is a great album in the sense that there is no real rush to get through it. And the game itself kind of plays on that. It's a game of adventure and exploration, not necessarily in the map sense, but in the personal or interpersonal sense. Understanding what people want and need is really important. And I think if you want a game that helps you build, help kind of guides you into this empathetic feeling for other characters in the game that you don't really get in any other video game, I would highly recommend it. And the soundtrack fits alongside that. It guides you along in this journey that you're going to have. It's melancholic, it's joyful, it's adventurous. It touches on all of these things that we've talked about in a way that is, like you said, you put it on, you close your eyes, and you can kind of just let yourself be pushed and pulled along, feeling whatever emotions come over you. Some of the tracks may hit harder for me because I actually played the game and I know the story behind some of the end songs. But even then, I fully believe that Stella's farewell and or the last voyage and all that can be very, very emotional and impactful, even if you haven't played the game.
Oh yeah, this soundtrack is just rife with feeling, and you can't mistake what this soundtrack is trying to tell you. And I think that's indicative of LL's ability to tell that story. And you can have a sad sounding song, but to create a cohesive piece that really does not get old. And it keeps you in it at all times, no matter if it's playful or sad. You're feeling every bit of it, and this game it's making me want to play it right now just listening to it and hearing you describe it. It sounds like it's a game that is masquerading as like a magnifying glass on yourself.
Yeah, kind of.
And you're discovering your ability or inability to understand people, and that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I would recommend anyone to play it. It's relatively short, not as short as Journey, but relatively short game, and it lets you just kind of explore the whole world, and you get to listen to this awesome soundtrack along the way.
Yeah.
maxll.ca
Yes.
is his website. You can buy this album. I am
8bit.com as the 2 LP vinyl soundtrack.
There you go.
$39.99.
So there you go. You can get it in vinyl. You can go to Max LL's site and buy the album from him, or just stream it from him, and listen to all his other music. I would highly recommend this album to anybody, and I would highly recommend the game itself to anybody.
Yeah, I'm on that boat literally right now. I can't remember if this is on Xbox Game Pass, but if it is, I will be downloading it. So I will give this 10 out of 10 spirits. I don't know. Boats. 10 out of 10 boats.
I'm there with you. 10 out of 10. Big fish caught. It definitely is an amazing album.
Yeah. Well, that is our show today, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed it, even if it was a little emotional this week. So enjoy the soundtrack. And John, if you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did. Never mind.
Try
Scratch
again.
that. Scratch
Scratch
that.
that.
Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, we like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the
Yeah,
podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.